السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome to a new session in our series إن أريد إلا الإصلاح ما استطعت. We are almost done and we covered multiple aspects of reform, and now we need to really cover the responsibility, the collective responsibility that each and every one of us does carry, being a Muslim, which is the responsibility of reforming the society at large. And today we are talking about calling to reform as a duty for all, as a duty for everyone who is labeled as a Muslim. And I want to start by asking you, imagine if every single person in the society took their responsibility, if the parent led their families, like if the teachers are nurturing strong values in their students, if friends encourage each other to do good. So the entire society will be a much virtuous, just society. But here is the reality. Many people think that reform is someone else's job. It's not my job. Let the leaders, let the scholars, let the activists fix things. But for me, I really don't care. This is not for me. I'm okay in my shell on my own, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about this in the Holy Quran. وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Let there be a group amongst you who call to goodness, enjoin what is right and forbid what is evil, and those are those who are successful. So reform isn't just for scholars and isn't just for activists. It's for everyone. It's everyone's task, everyone's challenge, everyone's responsibility. So if you know something is right, you need to encourage it. And if you know something is wrong, you need to try to fix it as much as possible. At the bare minimum, you fix it with your heart, which means you are not satisfied and okay with it as it stands. The second proof here is silence in the face of wrong is complicity. And so whoever amongst you sees an evil, من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. So the one amongst you that sees an evil, then let him change it by what? By his hands. If he can't, then by his tongue. If he can, then by his heart. And this is the least level of Iman. And finally, each and every one of us needs to be an active force of good. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةٍ. Convey from me, even if it's only one verse. SubhanAllah, someone just memorizing one verse in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then going around and calling people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, that's totally doable, totally possible. That's why it's extremely important for us to look at this reform as it can begin small, with small, consistent actions, and eventually, like as long as they do inspire others, eventually they can become mega effective activities. And the Prophet ﷺ did actually live in a corrupt society. However, what did he do, alayhi salatu wasalam? He started not through force, but through wisdom, patience, and action. And he did never resort to force, like from the get-go, obviously. So what is our action plan today? One, lead by example. So people follow actions, do not follow instructions. So if you want others to pray, then you need to give them the example of how to pray. If you want them to be good with each other, same. Like you always need to be the role model for everyone who is surrounding you. Like the second thing here is use wisdom in your approach. So ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. So when you are to call for your Lord, call with wisdom and with the best form of speech. And even if you are to debate with them, debate with what is the best. So being harsh in correcting others pushes them away. That's a rule. And this is applicable to both Muslims or non-Muslims. Never be harsh in pushing others away. So finally, start with small acts of reform, and لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا. Don't underestimate any aspect of goodness. So correct a misunderstanding with kindness, for example, advocate for fairness at work in your community, encourage others toward good causes, and so on. And finally, if we don't stand for reform, who will? I just want you to answer this question. Who will? If we don't stand for our brothers and sisters who are Muslims, but also for anyone who is facing calamity, facing trouble, and facing social injustice and so on, who will? So inshallah, this Ramadan, you and I will change ourselves, inshallah, with the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be truly aware and truly cognizant of all of the critical cases and the critical topics and the debatable topics and so on that are like the name of the game these days. And we would need to ask ourselves, what did we do to alleviate the challenges of our brothers and sisters for each and every one of these kind of conflicts or so. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be among those people whom whenever they listen to the truth, they follow the best out of it. And most importantly, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us true agents of change. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.